To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.
Hello my dear grade 9 students. Today we are going to start the 18th lesson in your grade 9 science syllabus. So this is the penultimate lesson, right? And here we'll be discussing about the natural disasters, right? So within the lesson number 18, we'll be studying about the natural disasters. So you know what do you mean by a natural disaster? Already you guys have also some experience about several natural disasters which is going to happen worldwide, right? So a natural disaster is, it's a certain kind of a catastrophic or else a disastrous thing which happens naturally without the interference of the man, right? So humans are not going to directly get involved in creation of these catastrophic events. So natural disasters are mainly going to create different, several bad effects for the environment that we are living in and for the humans and as well as for animals as well. So basically there are several natural disasters, but within this lesson part, my dear children, we'll be mainly focusing about the natural disasters which occur to Sri Lanka, right? Which is going to occur to Sri Lanka, or else which these natural disasters which the Sri Lanka is going to suffer with. So let me take you to 2004, to the year 2004. So in year 2004, Sri Lanka hit with a tsunami wave. So it was happened because of the earthquake that happens near the Indian Ocean. So from that incident, my dear children, several lives, animal and also human, were destroyed, and not only that, large amount of properties were also destroyed. So that's in Sri Lanka. No, let me take you to different country, like in Japan. So I think you will remember in recent years in Japan, right, a huge earthquake occurred. So from that, several constructions were destroyed and also lives were destroyed. So all of these things like earthquake, tsunami waves, sometimes wildfires. Can you remember there was a wildfire in Australia which happened for days, right? So droughts, okay, then landslides, floods, cyclones, like that. There can be several natural disasters all around the globe. So mainly we're going to focus in here within this lesson part, right, several natural such disasters which is going to occur within Sri Lanka, right? So now let's head on to see what are the main topics that we are going to discuss in here. So like I said, we'll be discussing about the natural disasters that's going to happen within Sri Lanka now. So we'll be mainly focusing about cyclones first. So cyclone, because of the occurrence of several cyclones, like in recent years, Sri Lanka suffered Sri Lanka suffered with several cyclones. In here, my dear children, the rain is going to come down for several days and the speed of the wind is also going to be very high, right? And it's going to be quite difficult to do our day-to-day works. Rather than that, my dear children, because of the heavy rain and the heavy winds, right, there can be a storm kind of a weather can occur. So it would be quite difficult us to carry on our works. And if the rain is going to continue for several days, sometimes floods may come and spread of diseases will occur. So like that way, there are different bad effects which is going to occur because of the cyclones. So we'll be learning about cyclones within our first lesson part, my dear children. We'll be learning about the structure of a cyclone, how does the cyclone is going to occur, right? And what are the special names given for the cyclones according to the several areas which these things are going to occur. And my dear children, we'll be discussing about the bad things of cyclones as well. Okay. Then my dear children, we'll be discussing about earthquakes. Earthquakes. Usually Sri Lanka is not getting suffered with earthquakes, right? I mean, like, there can be like small tremors, but however, Sri Lanka is not going to suffer with earthquakes. Okay. So because Sri Lanka is not related to a, I mean, like, not somewhat near to a tectonic plate margin. So I think you have heard about the tectonic plates earlier in like in grade 7 you have studied even about the tectonic plates, right? So Sri Lanka is not located near a tectonic boundary. So therefore Sri Lanka is not getting suffered with earthquakes like in larger extent. Okay. However, my dear children, we'll be learning about earthquakes as well, right? Within our second lesson part. So we'll be learning about how to measure the magnitude of the earthquakes, and we'll be learning the scale which is going to use when measuring the magnitude or the strength of the earthquakes. Then according to that scale, like what kind of catastrophic events which can occur within the environment, right? Like that we'll be discussing about several things related to earthquakes as well in our second lesson part. Then my dear children, we'll be discussing about tsunami waves. So like I said, right, Sri Lanka suffered with the tsunami wave on 2004, right, December 26th, right? So that incident is, right, that incident was actually very I mean, like, it's a very disastrous, it was a very disastrous thing for Sri Lanka. Large number of lives were destroyed because of this incident, right? So we'll be learning about the tsunami waves, right, in our third lesson part. Then we'll be learning about how these waves are going to occur, what are the reasons, and sometimes, my dear children, there can be several human activities which is going to create a tsunami waves as well, like nuclear explosions. So we'll be learning about those things as well. Then my dear children, sometimes this, you know, the bad effect or the these disastrous things can be minimized up to some level, not, I mean, in a huge extent, but up to some level we can minimize the effect or the bad effect or the catastrophic events which is going to occur because of the tsunami waves. So we'll be learning about those things which we can use to mitigate the disastrous occasions or disastrous incidents related with the tsunami waves. Okay. Then my dear children, we'll be learning about wildfires. So usually, right, wildfires are not going to occur within Sri Lanka like in heavy extent, but in some cases there can be, my dear children. Okay. And most of the times, because of the wildfires, animal lives are the ones which are getting hurt the most. Okay. So wildlife are also important for us because it is going to conserve the biodiversity, and it also enhance the beauty of the environment. So it's very important resource for us. But however, it can be destroyed because of the wildfires. So we'll be learning about wildfires in the next one. What are the key things which are important for a creation of a wildfire, like that way how to mitigate the wildfires, right, or the incidents related to wildfires, and like that we'll be learning several things regarding the wildfires within our next lesson part. Then finally, my dear children, we are going to study about the relationship between increase in global warming and natural disasters. You know that the temperature of the planet Earth, the average temperature of the planet Earth is going to rise from day by day. It's rising day by day, right? So during the last year, if you check the average temperature, and if you're going to check the average temperature in this year, there's a huge difference. I mean, like, not huge means like not in like several degrees of Celsius, right? not by several degrees of Celsius, but however, compared to the last year or the previous year temperature, there is a huge difference, like in decimals, 0.5, 0.6, sometimes 1 degree also going to change sometimes. So that kind of a change is actually very dangerous. So I mean, like within 1 year, if the temperature is rising like about 1 degree of Celsius, then it's going to be a very dangerous and a hazardous condition, right? It's because, my dear children, because of the increasement of global warming, what will happen? The water which can be used, natural water which can be usable, is going to be reduce somewhat, and because of that, different kinds of things might occur. And other than that, my dear children, right, other than that, because of the global warming, different kinds of diseases are going to spread all around the world, right? Then drought seasons would come, change in climatic patterns, and this because of change in this or shift in these climatic patterns, sometimes very hazardous conditions might occur. Floods will come, right? And the sea level, right? Sea level also will increase because of the dissolution of glaciers. So like that way, there can be different kinds of, right, bad effects which is going to occur because of the global warming. So global warming is a main considerable thing within our, right, within present planet Earth, my dear children. Even the scientists are also going to do several investigations and do several experiments in how to reduction of the global warming, right? So even countries, different countries are also following up different kinds of legislations and also rules in minimizing and mitigating the emission of greenhouse gases which are responsible for the global warming, right? So I think already you know about the greenhouse gases. We have learned these things in grade 8 as well. So greenhouse gases are the ones which can cause the greenhouse effect. So greenhouse effect means, my dear children, it is the one, right? Can you remember we learned this thing within the artificial environment and the green concept lesson part also. Within the greenhouse effect, my dear children, there are several gases which can absorb the solar radiation and re-radiate back into the planet Earth. So because of that, a healthy climate is maintained within the planet Earth. But if the process is going to, right, I mean, like if this greenhouse effect is going to increase, then, my dear children, this environment temperature will also going to rise from day to day, right? That means, my dear children, the average temperature is going to increase. So that what has happened to our present world, right? So here the emission of several greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, chlorofluorocarbon, right? What has happened? Our, average temperature within the planet Earth is going to rise from day to day, right? So greenhouse effect is the main reason for this increasement of global temperature. So we'll be learning about in the final lesson part, we'll be learning about what kind of a relationship can be observed, right? Like what kind of a relationship these two quantities are going to show, like the global warming and the natural occurrence of natural disasters. So we'll be learning about the relationship related to the natural disasters and the global warming within our final lesson part. Okay, right. So these are the things that we are going to mainly focus within this lesson part, my dear children. Then finally, at the end of the lesson, we'll be discussing about the questions given in your textbook first. Then after that, we'll be discussing several questions, extra questions related to the lesson part. So I hope that you will stay with me till the end of our lesson. Okay, right then. So let's head on to see the first and foremost lesson part. So within here, we'll be getting a brief idea about what kind of a thing is a natural disaster. So here it is given, what are natural disasters? You have been asked with the question. Let's see. So at the beginning I told you what kind of a thing is natural disaster, right? So natural disaster is a certain catastrophic event, right, or else a disastrous event which is going to happen naturally within our planet Earth, right, or in our biosphere. Usually these things are not going to, right, not going to occur because of the interference of human. So that is why these things are called as natural disasters. So let's see the first point given here. Natural disasters are naturally occurring destructive incidents, right, without the mediation of man, causing harm to human lives, property, environment and the economy. So like I said, my dear children, this is what do you mean by the natural disaster? Without the mediation or without the interference of man, if a certain thing is going to happen, certain destructive thing is going to happen naturally, then such a thing is called a natural disaster. So what are the examples for these things? Floods, right? Cyclones, earthquakes, then tsunami waves, right? Then my dear children, wildfires. So like that way there are several things, right, several natural disasters. So we'll be learning about several natural disasters when you go further with the lesson part, my dear children, okay? So these are several examples then for natural disasters. All of these things are destructive, right, according to the magnitude that they are going to occur. All of these things are going to be destructive, my dear children, right? Then here it is given, reasons for the occurrence of natural disasters are the weather and climatic changes. Changes occurring at the interior of the earth and the changes occurring in the biosphere. Human activities affect to increase the intensity of the natural disasters. So, if you take a natural disaster, natural disasters are mainly going to occur because of several reasons actually. So, the main reasons for the occurrence of natural disasters are change in climatic patterns, weather patterns and atmospheric conditions in our planet Earth, my dear children. Because of change in these things, usually, right, what will happen? These destructive incidents are going to occur, right, because of change in these factors especially. So, here changes occurring at the interior part of the earth. You know that our interior planet, if you take the planet Earth, the interior part or the structure of planet Earth contains like several parts. So the changes which is like the earth mantle and the core, okay, you already know these things. So if there is a certain change which is going to occur within these areas, within these parts, then that would also create several destructive incidents, my dear children. Okay, so changes which is happening within these things is the main reason for the occurrence of natural disasters. Then human activities affect to increase the intensity of natural disasters as well. Now there are several human activities. Because of that human activities, the intensity of the natural disasters is also going to increase, my dear children. That means the hazardous events or the hazardous condition of a natural disaster may increase because of the human activities. For a certain example, let me take this example. Now let's imagine that there's a tsunami wave. So you know that the destructive incident of the destructive condition of the tsunami wave can be minimized if there is a good mangrove or else coral reef cover. But you know that because of the action of human, coral reefs and these mangrove plants are now slowly getting reduced within the sea environment. So that would create very catastrophic, I mean like the destructive incidence or the destructiveness of the tsunami waves will also going to increase. Okay. However, if there was, or else, however, if there is, like a good mangrove cover and good coral reef cover, then up to a certain extent we can mitigate the, up to a certain extent, not totally, but up to a certain extent, my dear children, we can mitigate the destructiveness of the incident, tsunami waves. However, right, if because of several human activities, right, most of the times within these days at present, these things are getting destroyed. So therefore, the intensity of these natural disasters can also increase because of the human activities. Right then, so this is a brief which is given to the natural disasters, my dear children. Now let's head on to see the next one. So such incidents are shown in figures. So there are several figures given here, my dear children, right? So within these figures, several natural disasters can be observed, right? So let's identify each and every natural disaster which is given in the figures then. So over here you can clearly observe that the ground has cracked and less amount of water can be observed within this reservoir, right? And the environment is so dry, even at the end of the forest like kind of structure at the behind of the figure, you can see that it has got dry even, right? The brown color nature is very high. So which means, my dear children, in here you can clearly observe a drought kind of a condition. So I think you already know what do you mean by a drought. It's a very dry season where the water is going to be less, right? And because of that, the plants and animal lives will die, and several diseases also may spread because of the because of less amount of water and because of consumption of contaminated water from reservoirs. So this is a drought kind of a condition, my dear children, right? And also droughts will definitely hurt or definitely destroy agricultural lands located within a certain area. So droughts, we'll name these things drought. Then in here, second one, you can observe, now there was a soil layer with several rocks and it has come down, right? It has slided downward with the trees and the plants and all the things upon it. So this kind of an incident is called as a landslide, my dear children. Landslides are mainly going to occur because of, right, because of heavy rains, right? Because of the heavy rains, water will soak into the soil layers, and because of that, the soil layers will come down with the water and mud, right? So that kind of a situation is called as a landslide. So landslide, if a certain landslide is going to occur, usually this is going to occur within hill country area. If there is certain like a high elevated area, right, then within the high elevated area we can observe landslides. So in here, my dear children, destruction of lives and also specially properties can be observed. The whole soil layer, the entire soil layer is going to come down with water. So it will spread here and there within the environment as well, destroying each and every property around it. So it is also a very, right, catastrophic event, which is mainly going to happen because of heavy rains, right? So landslide. Landslide. Then third one, you can clearly observe what has happened over here. Water has overflow, right? River water or any kind of a stream within that kind of a stream, or within any kind of a stream or water resource. Water has overflown, and that overflown water, what has happened? Flooded everywhere. And my dear children, right, the day-to-day activities of the people and, right, the properties were totally destroyed. So this kind of an incident, it's very simple. You know that by just looking at the figure, you can say it that it is a flood. So this kind of an incident where the river water or else water in some streams or any other water resource is going to overflow is called as a flood. And because of this overflowing water, destruction of lives, properties can be observed. This is also mainly going to happen because of heavy rains, my dear children. Okay, floods. Then next one, my dear children, you can clearly observe this one. There is a lightning bolt which is coming towards the ground from the sky. So lightning is also a destructive incident which is going to occur naturally. In the previous lesson we studied like large amount of area, huge content related to lightning, my dear children, under the lightning accidents, right? So I'm not going to tell you about the lightning, right? So I'm going to directly write down as this thing as lightning. Okay, so lightning. Then, my dear children, let's see what are the others. So here you can clearly observe within this figure there is a wildfire, right? There is a forest, and within the forest you can observe a fire which is going to occur in here within this figure. So this is a wildfire, my dear children, a wildfire kind of a condition. So as you can see here, especially because of the wildfires, right, the natural beauty and animal lives are getting hurt, okay, mostly, right? So wildfires. Wildfire. Then over here you can observe those disastrous waves which is coming from the sea, tsunami waves, right? So we learned several things about the tsunami waves when I was discussing the lesson part, right? So even within this lesson part also there is a separate section related to the tsunami waves. So over there we'll discuss some brief things, my dear children. So just here we are I'm going to introduce what are the destructive incidents. Okay, so tsunami waves, right? Then next one. So over here you can observe it's not like a tsunami, not like that, but however you can observe there is a heavy wind flow by just looking at the plants over here. You can observe there is a heavy wind flow, and my dear children, sea has also got somewhat rough, and we can even observe there is rain as well. So these kind of conditions, rough sea conditions, rough sea, right, then heavy winds, heavy rains, these incidents is a sign of a cyclone. So cyclones. So we'll be learning about cyclones within our first lesson part. When you go to the natural disasters, my dear children, within the first lesson part we'll be learning about these cyclones. So therefore, right, I'm not going to explain things related to cyclones in here. Just I have given you the brief that cyclones are mainly like these kinds of incidents. Okay, so cyclone. Then in here you can clearly observe a volcano, right? Now this volcano is going to erupt, and because of the eruption of volcano, lava is going to flow here and there within the within this certain area. And because of that lava, my dear children, you know that lava carries large amount of heat energy, and because of that certain destructive incidents can occur. So this is a volcanic eruption. Volcanoes are naturally occurring things, right? So therefore volcanic eruptions can also be taken as natural disasters. Volcanic eruptions, right? Next one then, right? Now in here you can clearly observe, right? In here, you can clearly observe there is a certain, right? There is a certain area, and within that area, my dear children, the land has cracked and opened, and even this vehicle is not at a straight position, which means, my dear children, now because of this thing, right, because of this thing, you can clearly observe properties were heavily damaged, and if there were people who is living while the incident is going to occur within this place, definitely that people will also going to die, right? So what is the reason for the occurrence of this kind of an incident? This is mainly going to occur because of earthquakes, my dear children. So because of the earthquakes, you know that our soil or the earth crust is going to be separated into several layers. Like the topmost layer, not the entire layer, but however the topmost layer that we are living in is going to occur with several cracks. Sometimes because of those cracks, my dear children, buildings and also like these road constructions will get destroyed, right? So earthquakes, this is our next one then. Earthquakes. Then over here, you can observe a twist kind of a, right? A twist kind of a, wind pattern, right? And it is also circulating, my dear children. Now this is going to happen. Now this incident has happened within the land area, right? Within the land area, this incident, right, has happened. So for Sri Lanka, we won't be able to observe like this kind of incidents. But however, it's a very common incident in America, USA, right? This is called as a tornado, right? A twister kind of wave kind of twister kind of wind, right? Rotating here and there, and it's going to move by destroying each and every property and lives around a certain area, right? It's like a twister of wind. So this is called as a tornado then. Tornado. Then in here, you can see there is an iceberg or else a glacier. So the glacier has now came down to the ocean, right? So glacier has been dissolved and came down to the ocean, right? So this kind of an, not only glaciers, but sometimes, my dear children, snow mountains, the snow contained within the mountains can also come down like this, right? These things can come down like this, okay? So this kind of an incident is called, my dear children, a glacier blast, okay? This is a glacier blast or else a glacier burst. So in here, when the glacier has been blasted out due to a certain incident like earthquake or any kind, right? Sometimes the glacier will not be, a certain area, right? The weight of the glacier will not be able to be handled, so it will come down because of the gravity, right? And it will get collected to the sea like this, and sometimes it would also create tsunami waves because the vertical displacement of the sea waves, right? So this is a glacier burst then. Glacier burst. And the other thing is that, my dear children, now within a glacier burst, if a certain, if this kind of a burst is going to happen within a snowy mountain, then we refer this thing as an avalanche, right? So during an avalanche also, the snow and all the stuff, right, placed within the mountain is coming down because of the gravity, and it's going to devastate all the things and the properties related to that area. Okay, so those things are also be kind of, like those things are also creating some kinds of disastrous incidents. Then in here, this is a figure of a typhoon. Now typhoon is also similar to the cyclones, my dear children. The same thing is going to happen, right? But the specialty here is that according to the area which these things are going to occur, according to the area which the cyclone is going to occur, we are given with certain names, right? Especially this kind of a one is referred as a typhoon, right? That related to the area which it is going to spread, which the cyclone is going to spread, right? So we'll be learning about the typhoons and the cyclones in detail when you go further with the lesson part. Okay, right? So here, this is a typhoon, right? This is called as a typhoon. So typhoon is also, remember my dear children, a type of a cyclone. Actually, it's not a type. Actually, it is same as the cyclone, but given with a different name according to the area which it is going to occur. Okay. So now we have studied, or we have learned about several natural disasters which is going to happen all around our planet Earth. Okay. So all of these natural disasters are not common to Sri Lanka. Within this lesson part, my dear children, we will be mainly focusing about some natural disasters that is going to happen within Sri Lanka. Okay. So let's head on to see what are the natural disasters which are somewhat common to Sri Lanka then. Okay. So there is a number of natural disasters, right? There is a number of natural disasters affecting Sri Lanka. Of them here we study about below mentioned natural disasters. So here we are going to study about only few selected ones. Now let's see what are those selected natural disasters that we are going to learn within this lesson part. So first of all, we'll be learning about cyclones. Cyclones. First of all, we'll be learning about cyclones then. Then, my dear children, we'll be learning about tsunami waves. Then after that, earthquakes. And wildfires. So these are the natural disasters that we are going to study within this lesson part, my dear children, right? Cyclones, tsunami waves, earthquakes, and wildfires, right? So these are the ones that we are going to learn within this lesson part. Okay, right then. So we have learned about the basic things that related to each of these ones, my dear children. Now let's head on to see, right? Now let's head on to see the first and foremost type of natural disaster that we are going to learn within this lesson part, which is, right, the cyclones. So let's see now how does a cyclone is going to occur first, right? So here you are given with a point, when the pressure of the air at a certain place in the atmosphere closer to the Earth's surface drops below the pressure around that place, a low pressure area is created. Now the main reason behind the creation of a cyclone is, right, a low pressure condition. Low pressure condition. Now here, when the pressure of the area, right, when pressure of the air at a certain place in the atmosphere closer to Earth's surface drops below the pressure around that place. Now that means, my dear children, the pressure of air at a certain place, right, in the atmosphere closer to the Earth's surface is going to drop below the pressure around that place. So in that case, a low pressure area is going to be created, right? If this low pressure situation develops further, it becomes a depression. If situation develops further, it gives rise to a cyclone, right? Now, low pressure condition which is going to occur within a certain area is the main reason for a creation of a cyclone. However, it should develop to a depression. That means pressure should even get deferred. Then after that, if the depression condition also going to change, then a cyclone is going to occur, right? Then, my dear children, you are given with two satellite figures, right? This one is a satellite figure related to how cyclone is going to occur. Now, within this place, you can observe that low pressure area. So, what will happen here is, because of the low pressure condition, right, the wild winds is going to come and get collected on these areas. You know that usually if there is a high pressure and low pressure conditions, I mean, like if there is in a certain place, if there is a high pressure, and in a certain place if there is a low pressure, then from high pressure to low pressure area, automatically particles or the things are going to travel. That's the usual way. We refer this thing as a diffusion even, right? So in here also the same thing is going to happen. Here, because of the low pressure condition, the air particles are going to circulate and travel towards the low pressure condition area. So that would create a cyclone like this, right? So here within this figure, you are given with a satellite picture showing the movements of clouds during a cyclone, right? And in the other one, movement of air during a cyclone, right? You can observe movement of air particles during a cyclone within the second one. So this is how the air particles are going to circulate and travel at the center. So at the center, you can observe a low pressure condition, right? So this is the satellite image of that, right? So you can get a clear picture, right? You can get a clear idea by looking at these two. So I hope that you got the idea how the cyclone is going to create within the planet Earth, my dear children. It's mainly getting created because of reduction in pressure. Okay. Now let's see what are the reasons or the factors that is going to affect or that's going to create a certain cyclone. Right. So existence of large oceanic area and its temperature being about 27 degrees of Celsius to the depth of 60 meters, right? So existence of large oceanic area and the temperature being about 27 degrees of Celsius to a depth of 60 meters. Now, within that place, my dear children, there should be a large oceanic area. And the other thing is that the depth up to 60 meters, right? Depth up to 60 meters, the temperature should be above 27 degrees of Celsius up to the depth of 60 meters, right? This is the first most condition. Then the second one given, occurrence of convection current in the atmosphere. Occurrence of convection current. So convection current means, my dear children, that means due to pressure difference. Actually, pressure difference is mainly getting created because of the heat difference. Now, because of the heat difference or the pressure difference, what will happen? The particles should flow from higher to a lower area. So this kind of a situation is called as a convection, right? Actually, mainly this thing is going to happen because of the heat energy, but heat energy also creates pressure difference as well. Okay. Then minimal tendency of the horizontally blowing wind to sweep vertically, right? So minimal tendency, minimal means actually less tendency of the horizontally blowing wind to sweep vertically, right? So the winds which are flowing or winds which are blowing horizontally, right, should sweep vertically. This is the next one. Okay. Then number 4, location of the point at which the depression is closer to the equator. cyclones are not formed on the equator. Alright, then next one is location of the point at which the depression is closer to the equator. It should not on the equator, but it should be closer to the equator, right? So the point where the depression is going to occur, it should be closer to the equator but not on the equator. As you can see, here it is given that cyclones are not formed on the equator. Okay. Then the next one, increase in humidity of the atmosphere beginning from surface the ocean to higher atmospheric levels. That means higher than 60 degrees, right? Higher than 60%. Increase in humidity of the atmosphere beginning from surface of the ocean to higher atmospheric levels. That means higher than 60%, right? Should be higher than 60%. So within the certain area, my dear children, the humidity level should be greater than 60%, and it should be also an area which the atmosphere beginning from surface of the ocean to higher atmospheric levels, right? Within those areas or within those atmospheric levels, my dear children, the humidity level should be higher than 60%. Then next one, as cyclones are born on meeting the above conditions, they are restricted only to some oceanic regions on the earth. Now these are five, now you are given with 5 reasons or 5 factors that would create cyclones. Okay, so if these factors are met, then a cyclone kind of a condition will occur. The specialty here is that these things are going to meet only within certain places, right? So therefore, my dear children, cyclones are born on meeting the above conditions, right? Which means they are restricted only to some oceanic regions in our planet Earth. Not everywhere we won't, everywhere we won't be able to observe these kind of things, right? So these things can be observed within certain oceanic areas only, right? Within those places, my dear children, these factors are being met. Okay, right then. So for extra knowledge, you are given with certain things. Let's see. The cyclones formed in the North and South Asian oceans are known as tropical cyclones. So cyclones formed in the North and South Asian oceans are known as tropical cyclones. So these things are known as, my dear children, tropical cyclones, right? Cyclones generated in the Northern Pacific Ocean are called as typhoons. So like I said, can you remember? I told you that these cyclones are given with several names according to the place that they are going to originate. So here it is given, cyclones generated in the Northern Pacific Ocean are called as typhoons, right? If a cyclone is going to occur within Northern Pacific Ocean, then those things are called as typhoons. Then next one given, cyclones produced in the Northern Atlantic Ocean are termed as hurricanes, right? Hurricanes. So if a certain cyclone which is going to occur within the Northern Atlantic Ocean, North Atlantic Ocean, then that kind of a thing is called as a hurricane. So it is given with several names according to the place where it is going to occur, right? So cyclones, typhoons and hurricanes, all of these things are referring to a same one which is called as commonly as a cyclone. Okay, right then. Now my dear children, we are going to start a new lesson part in here, but however this is also regarding the cyclones, but however this is a somewhat fresh new lesson part. Here we are going to study about the structure of a cyclone, right? So structure of a cyclone given in here. So you are given with a cross-sectional right, the structure of a cyclone. As you can see, there is a center area which is referred as the eye, and there is another area which is located near to the eye, referred to as the eye wall. Then you can observe the wind patterns, the dense overcast, right? Then also the rain bands, right? The rain bands means that over there you can observe the heavy rain. Let's see. In addition to the circulation, air rises up in the central part of the vial of the cyclone. This upward movement of air gives you a cylindrical cloud wall. The central part of the vial wind is called as the eye. So, central part of this vial wind is referred as the eye. It's the exact center part, right? Over here you can observe it. The eye of the cyclone, right? Then it would have a spread within a region of 30 to 60 kilometers from the center of the vial. Now, the area which the eye is going to spread is like around region between 30 to 60 kilometers from the center, right? This eye is a region with little wind and free of rain and clouds. In satellite photographs, this appears as a black circle. Now in satellite photographs, my dear children, this is going to appear as a black color circle. Specialty here is that eye is a region with little wind and free of rain. There is no rain, and my dear children, in the eye, the wind is also going to be less, right? Within the eye, my dear children, right, we won't be able to observe rain or else heavy winds, right? It's a calm area, the eye. So it is observed as a, right, it is observed as a center, like the center is observed as a black color, circle kind of a structure when you are observing satellite photographs, right? So this is the first one, the eye. Then, my dear children, the cylindrically arranged cluster of clouds around the eye is known as the eye wall. Now, within the eye, within the cyclone, at the center, you can observe the eye. Then, around the eye, my dear children, you can observe the eye wall, right? The cylindrical arranged cluster of clouds around the eye is called as the eye wall. In this region, heavy rains and fast blowing winds occur. Now, within the eye wall, my dear children, starting from the eye wall, heavy winds and, my dear children, right, very fast blowing winds occur. Due to the eye wall, a few spiral bounds of clouds can be seen. In these regions too, heavy and speedy winds occur. Now, due to eye wall, my dear children, few spiral bounds of clouds can be seen, and within this area, my dear children, heavy winds and heavy rain is going to occur, right? Eye wall. Next one. Cyclone is the main mechanism that distribute huge solar energy received by the regions close to the equator of the globe. Cyclones originate in time to time in Indian, Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, provide the factors essential for the life of plants and animals on the earth. So cyclones are actually, by just looking at these things, you might think that these things are like, only destructive. But however, cyclones are the ones which are mainly causing the distribution of heat energy, solar energy received to the equator. So to the equator, large amount of solar energy is being received now. So that solar energy is being spreaded all around the globe by the help of cyclones. So during the distribution of those, solar energy, right, essential factors needed for the life of planet Earth is also getting spreaded by it, right? So cyclones are very helpful for the biosphere. But the thing is, my dear children, right, through in nature, right, through in nature, cyclone is a favorable phenomenon like this, right? It's a favorable phenomenon. Okay, if you observe, if you're going to observe, like, now when you read out the first point, the first part, the first sentence, you can clearly observe that it's somewhat favorable. But however, right, even though it is a favorable phenomenon like this, today more attention is focused on the disasters brought about by it. However, my dear children, these disasters advantages but as well as disasters. So nowadays we are making, or we are giving out a certain extra focus about the disasters given out by the cyclones, right? Okay, then. So you are given with another, you can observe a clear image over here. Now in here there is a passage given, an experience of a cyclone, right? A certain experience of a cyclone. Let's see. The date was 26th December 2000. It was sunny day for Trincomalee. The residents of the town were involved in their daily routine as usual. Although the weather forecast of that day had informed that a cyclone would occur, some seemed not to be concerned about it. At about 8 o'clock, a black cloud appeared from the seaside. Before an half hour passed, a fast-blowing wind swept across the town. At the same time, it started to rain heavily. Roofs of the buildings flew away with the wind. Trees were uprooted. Electricity was cut off. Residents of the town were ran to safe places. After some time, rain stopped and the wind also subsided, right? So subside. Some people came out from the safe places, but again strong winds started to blow in the opposite direction as earlier. Rain started again. Buildings which were not destroyed by the wind, which blew first, were devastated by this second. So here you can see that, right, an experience about a cyclone is given within this passage. You can see that now it has occurred like two different intervals in two different times, right? First one, right, cyclone came and ran away with all the roofs and other plants and other properties, my dear children. And my dear children, once again after a certain interval, once again the rain and heavy winds came, but however to the opposite direction of it, right? Then from both of these instances it has got destroyed, right? Properties got destroyed. Okay, then. So given below are numerical data about the losses caused by the cyclone described above. Now you are given with a certain table. Now in here, the numerical calculation about the data and the losses which was created because of the cyclone, which was introduced from the earlier slide, my dear children. Okay. So number of families hit 170,419. So 170,419 families were, right, this kind of a number of families were hit with this particular cyclone. Okay. Then number of houses fully damaged houses were like 57,273. Then number of houses partially damaged ones, around 20,860. Then amount of cultivated land which was get destroyed, 20,810 acres, right? Then number of deaths, 17 deaths, large number, right? Then loss caused to the national economy, so it's around 1,500 million rupees, right? 1,500 million rupees. So this is a huge loss, my dear children. Not for the economy, but for each and every category which is given on here. Now, when you take a family, property like houses, cultivated lands, for all of these things, right, cyclones are going to be very disastrous. So this is an incident about the cyclone which was happened during the 2000, right, year 2000 in Trincomalee, my dear children. Okay, right, my dear children. So we have learned several things regarding the cyclone within this lesson part, right? So I think that you got a good knowledge about the structure of the cyclone and how it is going to occur and what are the places which the cyclones can occur. And also, my dear children, we have identified the main factors or the main things which would create a certain cyclone, right? And we have also identified several beneficial or several advantages related to a cyclone as well. So within that, I'm going to finish up this chapter, and in our next chapter we'll be focusing some several extra things related to the cyclones as well, right? Like the, when you go further with the lesson part, we'll be learning about from what kind of places, from what kind of an area will the cyclones would hit to Sri Lanka, and we'll be discussing about the disasters and the main types of, like when you take the recent years, like what kind of disasters has happened to Sri Lanka because of the cyclones. So however, we'll be learning about those things in our next chapter. So in here, I'm going to finish up this chapter regarding the structure and the, we have discussed only the basic information and the structure related to cyclone. So we'll be learning about further things in our next chapter then.
To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.